Hey, what is good, you guys? I am Jaideep and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to be looking at 7 ways in which you can write better Pythonic code. So if you have always wondered how Python programmers write certain codes, this video is going to help you learn at least 7 of them. I promise to make more videos on this series, but for now, let's get started with the first 7. First step is that almost all data types can be interpreted as booleanish. So an empty set, tuple, dictionary or list will evaluate to false, but a non-empty set, tuple, list or dictionary will evaluate to true. Let's consider we have a sample list which is empty. So the next time when you have to check if the list is empty or not, what you can simply do is instead of writing if length of sample list is equal to 0, print list is empty, write it as if not of sample list, print list is empty. So what's happened here is that sample list is blank, and we know that if a blank sample list will return false, and hence not of false will become true. So this will essentially become not of false, which evaluates to true, and hence this if condition would be satisfied. Now if I run this code, it will return both the if statements will return the same output, but the second if condition is much more cleaner and is much more Pythonic. Number 2, use the enumerate method to provide row numbers. What I mean by that is if you have an iterable, here we have taken a list of items as the iterable, and if you want to print the output something like 1 item 1 like this, 2 item 2 and 3 as item 3. So one way of doing it is if, let me comment this out, IDEX in range of length of list of items, print f string index plus 1, and the output is this, and give it a space and another one of list of items of index. So not if but for. So if I run this code now, what I'll do is I'll just comment this out, and if I run this code now, this will print the output as we need it. But there's a better way of doing it, and that is using enumerate. So what you can write is for index comma value in enumerate list of items, and we give the start parameter as 1. Enumerate has a second parameter, and which is the starting index, and then just let me copy paste this index and this, and instead of having this whole thing, what you can simply write is value, and let me print both of this. We now see that both the for loops generate the same output, but the second one is much more cleaner, neater. It uses one less function, and you can also get rid of this calculation and this reference by index as well. Tip number 3 is the use of the Walrus operator to perform an assignment and comparison in a single statement. The only word of caution is that this operator was introduced in Python version 3.8, so if you're below 3.8 you cannot do this. But if you are above Python version 3.8, then what you can simply do is instead of doing n is, so let me take this sample underscore list is equal to 1 2 3, n is equal to length of sample list, if n is greater than 3, n is greater than 2, print list has more than 2 elements. Now if I run this code, we know that the list has more than 2 elements. Tip number 3 is the use of the Walrus operator to perform an assignment and comparison in a single statement. The only word of caution is that this operator was introduced in Python version 3.8, so if you're below 3.8 you cannot do this. But if you are above Python version 3.8, then what you can simply do is instead of doing n is, so let me take this sample underscore list is equal to 1 2 3, n is equal to length of sample list, if n is greater than 3, n is greater than 2, print list has more than 2 elements. We know that the list has more than 2 elements, so the print statement should be executed. But there's a better way of writing this, and that is using the Walrus operator. If n, and this is the Walrus operator, colon n equal to length of sample list is greater than 2, print, and what I'm going to do is better statement, or list has more than 2 elements. Clear that this is actually coming from the second statement. I'm going to add a star star star, and if you see, the second one is also printed. The walrus operator lets you combine these two statements, the assignment and the comparison, in a single one. But the only word of caution is it's available in Python version 3.8 and above. Use of the ternary operators. Ternary operators help you to write better if statements by combining the if-else comparisons into a single line. For example, if you have a sample list and if you want to do if sample list print list is not empty, else print list is empty. Now if we run this code, we know that the list is not empty, and then this if block will be executed and the list is not empty is printed as expected. But there's a better way of writing this. If else statement in Python, and that is simply if sample list print list is not empty, and again just some stars to indicate that this is the second output. This is coming from the second one. Else print list is not empty, or list is empty star star star. Now if I run this code, the outputs are again same. They're almost same. This is the except for the star. But if you see that we have combined this if else pyramid block into a single statement, and that was the fourth tip, to use the ternary operator to write single line if else statements as chained comparisons. Python does provide support for chained comparisons, and hence it can help you write simplified if statements. For example, if you have a value 7 and your requirement is to test if the value lies between 5 and 10, what you can do is, if a is greater than 5 and a is less than 10, print between the range. Now if I run this, we know that a lies between 5 and 10, but there's a better way of writing this using chain comparisons. If 5 is less than a is less than 10, and I'm going to just copy this, print lies between the range, and if I run this now, print statements result in the same output. So chain comparisons are supported, and they are better than writing these two separate if statements. It was a fifth tip. Python does support chain comparisons, and do leverage it instead of writing two separate conditions in an if statement. 6. The for else loop. So everyone knows the Python for loop, but do you know that the Python for loop also has an else part, which will only be executed if the for loop does not break using the break keyword. What I mean by that is, if you have this value a is equal to 10, and if I write for I in range of 10, if I equal to a, and I cause it to break, or just say print found and then break, and then I write else print we are in else. Using the range function to calculate the values from 0 to 9, and because at the value 7 I will be equal to a, and this will break, and if we run this now, the found would be printed. But because this for loop was broken using the break keyword, this else part did not execute. But if we just do print I, that is, we do not break this for loop, and run this now, the else part would also be executed. Similarly, in the previous loop, if we just do, instead of breaking at a found, if we just do continue, the else part would still also be executed. That was a tip number 6. The for loop has an optional else part which will only execute if the for loop is not broken using the break keyword. Number 7 for writing better Python is the use of any and all methods. Any method returns true if any of the inputs supplied to it is true. All method returns true only if all the elements supplied as an input to it are true. Let us now leverage these two methods to write better Python code. So we have a voter list, which is basically a list of dictionaries. It has a name and an age. So a person is eligible to vote only if the age is greater than or equal to 18. So Amay and Akansha are eligible to vote, but Anay isn't. So if given this voter list and this condition, if you are asked to see if all the voters are eligible to vote, what we'll normally write is set a flag variable to true, iterate over the iterable, get the age, and if anyone has an age less than 18, then set the flag to false. And if I print this flag now, we know that it will print false because Anay is less than 18 years of age. Now there's an easier way or more simplified way of writing this Python code. All voters eligible to vote or not. What you can do is everyone eligible to vote underscore to all voter dot get age is greater than or equal to 18 for voter in voter list. So what we've done is we've iterated. So this for loop we have kept as it is. We've iterated over the iterable. Instead of having this flag and this break statement, we use the all method. So each and every comparison is passed to this all, and if all the comparisons are true, so for Amay this comparison will return true, for Akansha this comparison will return true, but for Anay this comparison will return false. Hence all returns false because one of the condition evaluates to false. If I run this code now and let me print this, so if you see it prints false. If I change Anay's age to 27, then all the conditions will become true and all will return true as expected. So this is how it works. If we have to find that if any of the voters is eligible to vote or not, let me revert Anay's age to 17. What we can simply do is copy paste this. Actually, we'll copy paste all these 3 lines. If any voter is eligible to vote or not, instead of all we'll just print any and just give it is anyone eligible to vote or not and print this, and we know that this will also return true. This will also return true because 2 of the voters are eligible to vote. Now if we change this condition to 1 and 2, we know that all these are false. We will get all false inputs and that will change the output to false. So as expected, this has changed to false. This is how you can leverage any and all methods to write more Pythonic code. Just a reminder, all returns true if all the elements which are passed as input are true. Any returns true if any of the elements which are passed as input is true. So that is it for this video, guys. Thank you for watching. If you aren't a subscriber already, you know the drill. Hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon, you'll get all the notifications of my upcoming videos in your inbox. And we have reached around 600 at the time of recording this video. I think it's 599 subscribers, almost 600. But we have a target of reaching 1000 audience before, or 1k subscribers before 2023. Do help me and support me in that mission. If you like the video, if you find the content useful, do check out the older videos as well, and subscribe the button, and subscribe to the channel, not the button, but, and do share these videos with your friends as much as possible. Thank you for watching.